Gentlemen, I know today's been a hard day for you. Hard day because you've got a very hard decision you need to make. Do we stay here for these insightful discussions and panels, or do we go outside for the inspiring talks and workshops? So much going on, but I will tell you this, you are exactly where you need to be. We have Everette Taylor with us, and it's going to be very engaging, very inspiring, and you're going to get a lot of value from this talk. So come on inside, take your seats, and get ready for Taylor. Ladies and gentlemen, let's continue on with our global engagement pillar with our next session titled Kickstart Yourself. We all hear from leaders who've made it, but we don't hear about their journey. Everette Taylor faced tough times and didn't give up. As CEO of Kickstarter, he helps people around the world turn their dreams into reality. He'll show us how bouncing back, staying creative, and supporting each other can spark new possibilities for everyone. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the CEO of Kickstarter, Everette Taylor.
Hello, everybody. How are you guys doing today? My name is Everette Taylor. I am the CEO of Kickstarter. I'm really excited to be here today. This is my first time in Riyadh. I had camel yesterday, and it was delicious. Shout out to the chefs here. It was one of the best meals I've ever had in my life. It's my first time here. The weather has been absolutely incredible. The people here have been so hospitable, generous. I've just had a fantastic time here in Riyadh. And one of the things that I love most is that the transformation that's happening here. There's a lot of places I've been all over the world, but I truly feel like the transformation that's happening here in Saudi is one of the largest transformations happening in the world, and it's truly inspiring to me and the work that I do as the CEO of Kickstarter. As CEO of Kickstarter, we're a global company. Who has heard of Kickstarter at least before? By a show of hands. We got a few hands. That's good. That's good. That's great. That's great. I love to see that. For those who don't know what Kickstarter is the largest creative crowdfunding platform in the world. Billions of dollars flow through Kickstarter to help people's dreams come true. Crowdfunding is a way for people to be able to raise money, sell products before they come out, et cetera, to be able to make their dreams come true. We have been one of the most influential companies in the entire world. Time magazine named Kickstarter one of the 100 most influential companies in the world, with me being CEO. I became CEO at Kickstarter at the age of 33. I've been there a little over 3 years, and it's been some of my best life's work being at the helm of this company. Now, let's talk about that impact. Kickstarter, like I said, billions of dollars have been raised on a platform. We've had billion-dollar tech companies come out of Kickstarter. Billion-dollar tech products like Peloton, Oura Ring, which I'm wearing right now, Allbirds, Oculus, all of these things came out of Kickstarter. We've had Oscar-winning films. We've had Grammy Award-winning albums. We've had multi-million-dollar games. All of these things have come out of Kickstarter. Best-selling books. More comics are sold on Kickstarter than anywhere else in the world. It has become an incredible platform with millions of people using it, and it's been a platform to help people's dreams truly come true. Now, all of that sounds incredible, right? We've had brands like L'Oreal, Sony, Anchor, billion-dollar companies launch projects on the platform. Why do they do that? Because of the community. Community is extremely important to me and also to the work that I do at Kickstarter. That's because we have millions of people on our platform that are supporting the dreams of people all across the globe. That's the reason why major corporations, as well as people that are working out of their basements, just trying to get their dreams to come alive, use Kickstarter because it's such a powerful platform. Now, Kickstarter sounds amazing, right? Like, oh, that sounds amazing. You can raise billions of dollars, and there's millions of people that wants to help you support your dreams. That sounds easy enough. But the truth is, it's not that easy. Because, for instance, how many of you guys have a good business idea? How many you feel like you have a great business idea? I wish I saw some more hands, because I feel like some of you guys have more. I appreciate the enthusiasm in the back. We're going to go for GOAT later, because I love your enthusiasm. Everybody has an idea. Lots of people have ideas, but not many people have the passion, the fortitude, the ability to take risks, and the resilience to be able to follow their dreams and take the risk to launch a project on Kickstarter or pursue their dreams. I wouldn't be in the position that I'm in today, speaking in front of you all, being the CEO of Kickstarter, if I didn't have resilience. I've been through a lot in my life. Many of you sitting in this audience have been through good and bad things through your life, right? And I've had to persevere through that to get to be in this position today. The second thing I will say is my willingness to take risk. Not everyone's willing to take risks. People are scared to take risks. It's so much easier to stay with the status quo rather than take a chance and take a risk. But what's happening right now in Saudi, what's happening in Riyadh is huge transformation. The time is now to take risks. The time is now to go after your dreams. The time is right now. And I knew that very young. I want to talk a little bit about my story and about how I got to the point of being the CEO of Kickstarter. So I come from a place called Richmond, Virginia. I promise you, when you guys come to the States, you're not visiting Virginia. You're going to Miami, you're going to New York, you're going to LA. My God, over there, I see you, man. You're not going to Richmond, Virginia, right? Richmond, Virginia is not as well known as these major places, right? And to tell you a little bit about where I'm from the south side of Richmond, Virginia. And this is not a glamorous place. I grew up in housing projects in Richmond, Virginia. I grew up incredibly poor. And I saw a lot of craziness around me. I saw violence, I saw drugs, I saw gangs, I saw people doing things that they really shouldn't been doing. It was just me and my mom and my sister in a really, really rough neighborhood. The majority of the men in my family, and it's really important to have obviously male guidance, the majority of men in my family were either on drugs, in jail, or dead due to the drug game, gangs, violence, and all of those things. And so as a kid, as a young boy growing up in Richmond, Virginia, I had to teach myself a lot. And I experienced a lot of things probably a kid shouldn't have been experiencing at such a young age. But it was important for my growth and my development to get that exposure to know the things that I shouldn't have been doing. When I was a kid, I loved art, I loved music, I loved sports. I mean, I loved literally everything you can even think of when I was growing up as a kid, right? But my environment around me was not great. I didn't have examples of people that were successful. I didn't have examples of people that were doing the right things and the positive things. And one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about my work here at Kickstarter is not only does this platform allow people from places like me to be able to live out their dreams and to launch their dreams, but it also is an inspiration for other people who look like me to be in this position. I'm authentic, y'all. This is how I dress. I don't wear no suits. You know, I dress how I want to dress. I behave the way that I want to behave because I'm good at what I do. And that's something that's been super important to me throughout my entire career, is staying authentic to myself. And that all started in Richmond, Virginia. So I'm growing up in Richmond, Virginia, and I have a lot of bad things around me, and I start to get caught up in the wrong crowd with the wrong types of people. And the first lesson that I want to give to you all today is the importance of surrounding yourself with the right people. Your crew, your homies, your audience, whatever your team, whatever you want to call it, you have to surround yourself with the right people. The right people that are going to be doing the right things, that are not leading you down the wrong paths, the people that are going to encourage you. In America, we call them haters. There's a lot of haters out there in the world. There's a lot of people that are not going to support you, or they're going to try to drag you into doing the things that you're not supposed to do. It's important to surround yourself with positive people in your life. I did not have positive people around me in my life when I was a teenager. They were doing things that they shouldn't have been doing. And that, in turn, led me down a path to doing things that I shouldn't have been doing either. And luckily for my mother, who I'm extremely grateful for, she pushed me into another direction. And she forced me to get a job. My first job at 14. How old can you guys work at 14 here? Like, what's the age? I don't know. No one's going to yell it out. But 18? You can start working at 18? Okay, so I was a legal worker here. I was working at 14 years old. And my first job, funny enough, was in marketing. And marketing is the thing that changed my life and transformed my life. Most recently, how many of you guys heard of Eddie Murphy? Okay, a lot of people. He's very funny. He has a new documentary on Netflix. I just watched it last week in my hotel in London. Very funny. Check it out. I'm not getting paid for that. I was watching the documentary, and one of the things that he said was very, stuck with me. He said one of the advantages that I had in my life that I was really blessed with was knowing what I wanted to do early. He knew he wanted to be a comedian. He knew he wanted to be a star. He knew he wanted to be on TV at a very young age. The ability to recognize your passion, to recognize your path, to recognize what you want to do as young as possible is extremely important, right? Because it can put you on a path to where you're supposed to go. I found marketing at 14 years old. And years later, I'll be known as one of the most influential marketers in the world. But that started at 14 years old. I remember going into that interview, and, I go through the interview. I don't know much about marketing, and he says, "Can you start Monday at 9 a.m.?" Well, you guys may know what the problem with that was. I was a freshman in high school. So I said, "Hey, I have school." He said, "Oh, are you a college student?" I must have had a very old face. I've caught up in age at this point, hopefully. And I said, "No, I'm actually in high school." He's like, "Well, I can't give you this job." The second thing I want to say to you is, be as flexible as you possibly can, and don't take no for an answer sometimes. I didn't want to take no, and I told my future boss, I said, "I will come in before school, after school, on the weekends to do this job. Just give me a shot." And he gave me a chance. And that chance transformed my life forever because it introduced me into marketing, and that became the skill set that transformed my life. Now, sometimes bad things happen, right? So I worked this job for a few years. I'm taking care of my mom. My mom's not working at this time. And unfortunately, I lose the job. They had to make cuts. They had to make layoffs. And I lost the job, right? And so me and my family were struggling, and we actually end up homeless. We end up homeless. My mother is staying in a shelter. I'm staying in a car that does not work. In Virginia, it gets very, very cold, also very, very hot, but in this time it was very, very cold. And I'm living out of a car at 17 years old as a senior in high school. And it was one of the toughest moments of my life. But this is the next lesson I want to give to you all, is the lesson of resilience. We all are going to go through things in our lives. I think comparison is a thief of joy. We all have our different struggles and all of our different things that we struggle with. But there was never a moment during this time in my life being homeless when I didn't always have food to eat, when I didn't have shelter and all these things. There was never a moment where my faith in God and all these things, it never broke. I was never allowed to be broken during this moment. And that was really, really important to me. And it also was a time where I actually found the second thing that saved my life, and that was the world of tech and technology. So I would go to the local library to seek shelter because obviously it was cold outside. And I would go to the local library and they had computers. I didn't grow up with a computer. And I would go in the local library, I use a computer, I'm on Google, whatever, and then I see Mark Zuckerberg. Who is this guy? Who is this interesting white gentleman in Massachusetts, right? What is he doing? Wait, he's a billionaire? He's 20-something? Jack Dorsey, Twitter, what is this? I was seeing people not much older than me creating multi-billion-dollar companies in the world of tech. And for me, I thought that was awesome because I was like, I'm not very tall, so I'm not going to the NBA. Probably not going to be a rapper. My bars are trash. That wasn't going to work out. And tech was this thing that was like, wow, I can actually do that. Entrepreneurship, working in the tech industry. I can learn to code. I can learn to do these things. And that really changed my life. I Googled and I was like, tech schools in Virginia. Virginia Tech came up. I was like, okay, I probably need to go there. So I would wash windshields, play drums on the street, do different things to make money. And I saved up enough money to apply to one college, Virginia Tech, and I got in. And that was a transformational moment. I went there my first year. I learned how to code and I did all those things. Unfortunately, after my first year in college, I had to drop out to help out my mom again. And what happened during that time is I took a minimum wage job. I wasn't making anything. Like, guys, I'm telling you, the gas money that it took to go to work and plus getting lunch, I was like, I didn't make anything, right? So I was like, I need to do something. And that's when I launched my first company, Easy Events. And I had known no one who had started their own companies. I didn't know any entrepreneurs. I didn't know any creators. I didn't know anybody in my life that had started their own company. And so I did it. And my first company was an event marketing company. And we did events on the East Coast of the US, but we also built event marketing technology for tickets. Now, knowledge is powerful because I ended up selling this company 2 years later at 21. And I was excited. I was like, all right, I made it. I bought my mom a house. I bought a Porsche. I was stunting, y'all. Like I was doing pretty well. But that money ran out pretty fast, right? And I find out a few months later that the same company that I sold had been sold for 13, 14x times what I sold it for just a few months later. And that's the next lesson, is knowing your value and knowing your worth and actually having the knowledge and exposure to know that. I didn't know anything about Silicon Valley. I didn't know anything about the tech world. I didn't know anything about any of these things. And because of that lack of knowledge, I didn't know how valuable the technology I had built. And when I sold the company, I went back to college because I was like, you know what? I want to have fun. College in America is a little bit different. We have pretty good time out there. And I found out about this. I dropped out of college 2 weeks later. I dropped out and I moved to California. I took a risk. I found out that I lacked knowledge that I needed to get that was happening across the country in Silicon Valley, in the tech world, in the tech community out there, and I wanted to make a change. And so I packed my bags, moved all the way across the country 2 weeks later to pursue my dream in tech and also to get the knowledge that I needed to receive. Because I never wanted to be in a position again where I undervalued myself or I didn't understand what I built. When I moved to California, I became head of marketing for a startup. That startup sold a couple years later. Over the course of the next few years, I became a chief marketing officer, CMO, of the biggest sticker printing e-commerce company in the world, Sticker Mule. I started 4 multi-million-dollar companies. By the age of 27, I went directly at it. I knew that if I was going to take this shot and I was going to take this chance, that I needed to maximize my opportunity. And the other thing that I was dedicated to was dedicated to my craft. I wanted to be the best at what I did. Drake has this line. He said, while all my friends out partying, I'm just making the music that they party to, right? My man, you feel me, you feel me. And what that line basically means is that while everyone is out and they're distracted and they're doing things, he was in the lab, he was cooking up, and he was making it, and he was working, he was on his grind. And that's what I did in my 20s. That was really, really important to me, to really maximize my time, optimize my time, and be focused. And right now, especially in the age of the internet, there's tons of distractions. There's tons of distractions. There's tons of people that are trying to get you on the wrong path. There's tons of things that will try to distract you, but focus is extremely important. And when I moved to the West Coast, I was like, I'm going to be extremely focused, and I'm going to make myself successful out here, right? So I'm going through all this stuff, and I'm creating companies as an entrepreneur. I'm becoming an executive of different companies, and becoming very financially successful. I'm able to retire my mom. She never has to work again. People in my family don't have to work again, which is a big deal. These are things I'm extremely proud of. But one of the things that I realized was I wasn't doing what I was passionate about. Like, yes, I had made money. Yes, I had become successful. And, being homeless and being poor, you never want to put yourself in a position to struggle ever again. But what I realized was I wasn't really that happy with what I was doing on a day-to-day basis. And I knew that I needed to make a change in my life. And something that I had never done in my entire career was to do something that I was truly, genuinely passionate about. And this was a huge unlock for me, because no matter how good you are at what you do, if you're also doing something you're passionate about, I guarantee you your impact goes way higher. You're that much better if you're doing something that you're passionate about. And doing something you're passionate about is a privilege. I'm sure that a lot of people in this room don't even have the opportunity to do the thing that they're actually passionate about. We all have bills to pay and things like that. But I was in a position in my life finally to be able to say, hey, I want to do what I'm passionate about. And the thing that I was most passionate about at the time, and I'm still very passionate about, was the world of art. And art was something that was really, really important to me. And I'm in my late 20s, and I'm collecting art, but I'm seeing some of the inequities within the world of art. The majority of the successful artists in the world are white men. No surprise there. And I wanted to change that, right? So I started my own art platform called ArtX, and it caught the attention of Artsy. Artsy is the largest online platform for art in the entire world. They wanted to buy my company. I was like, nah, but they told me that they wanted me to come on to be their chief marketing officer, which was a huge opportunity for me. I think I was 29 at the time, to come and be the chief marketing officer at a global company, the largest art company in the world. And I did that. And the reason that I did that was I felt like it was genuinely something I was passionate about and that I could make an impact, and that's what I did. When I came to Artsy, 90% of the most successful artists and most in-demand artists on the platform were white men. By the time that I left Artsy, over 50% of the most in-demand artists on the platform were black, brown, people of color, and people from all around the world. Almost 50, thank you so much. Thank you. And close to 50%, not quite 50%, but close to 50% of those artists were women. That was a big, big change. And this was really extremely important to me, but what that taught me was the work that I was able to do at Artsy. What that taught me was that, hey, if I'm doing something that I'm passionate about and I'm genuinely interested in, the level of impact and the work that I can do is astronomical, right? And so I'm challenging you all today, if you can, please do something that you're passionate about. I promise you, you're gonna have more impact, but also the impact on your day-to-day life. Because we've all been there where we've worked a job where we didn't love it that much, right? And it impacts your mental health, your emotional health, sometimes even your physical health when day in day you're doing something that you're not passionate about. So I have this success at Artsy, and I remember walking into my CEO's office, and I said, I want to talk to you about something. He's like, what's up? I was like, I want your job. I wouldn't recommend this ever, but I was doing a great job at Artsy, and I said, hey, I really want to be a CEO. And I never had a mentor ever in my life, never. Like, I've always been trying to figure it out on my own, and he took me under his wing, and every week in our one-on-one meeting, he added an extra 15 minutes, and he taught me more about being a CEO. I had been CEO of small companies, but I had never been a CEO of a billion-dollar company before, and he was teaching me the ropes, and that was really, really important. And so when the time came and the opportunity at Kickstarter came about, I was ready. But there's one lesson I want to tell you about this opportunity that came at Kickstarter. When you are being recruited to be a CEO of a big company in the US, they talk to a lot of people. They talk to all different types of people throughout your career to get feedback on you. And there was 3 candidates, 2 of them much older than I was. I was 32 at the time. And it came down to me and one other candidate. And when they went and they checked in on this candidate, they found some things that weren't so good. And when they checked on me, every person that they spoke to said that I was a kind and good person. And no matter how much work, how much impact, and how much things I've done in my career, that matters to me most. Because it doesn't matter how much money you make, how much success you make, if you do it while being a bad person, you ultimately are not going to feel good in the end, and you're not going to feel successful in the end. And that was the thing that differentiated me, even at 32 at the time, from the other CEO candidates for this job. Now, this Kickstarter job represented something that was also a change. Artsy was a change because it was like, hey, I really want to do something that I'm passionate about. Kickstarter was a change because the reason that I came to Kickstarter, well, becoming the CEO of Kickstarter at 33 is pretty cool. I'm not going to lie. But also, the other thing that really drew me to Kickstarter was the impact. There's not many more impactful companies in the world than Kickstarter. And the thing at this point in my career and my life that gets me out of bed every single day is the ability to have an impact. We have had impact on millions and millions of lives on Kickstarter. I could even say maybe 1 billion plus lives on Kickstarter with some of the products and the things that have come from Kickstarter. And that to me is what really drives me today, is the impact. I spoke at this Alibaba conference last week, and this guy comes up to me and he says, I'm gonna be a billionaire. I was like, you're crazy, but no, I'm kidding. He was like, I'm gonna be a billionaire. I know I'm going to be a billionaire, not an M, a B. And he was like, if you could give me one piece of advice to someone that wants to be a billionaire, what would it be? And what I told him is that stop focusing on the money. Stop focusing on the dollar amount and focus on the impact. Because you know how you become a billionaire is by impacting a lot of people. And this is what I do every day at Kickstarter. So my message to you all today is don't get so focused on some of the arbitrary things or the things that don't matter, and focus on the impact. If you're driving value to people, if you're changing lives, the money will come. The success will come. If you're focused on the money, you're focused on the wrong thing. Be focused on delivering value. Be focused on building great products and services. Be focused on leaving an impact. I get to be at Kickstarter, one of the most influential companies in the world. And no matter how much revenue we make and what we do in the world, it's the stories of the people and the lives that we change that truly inspire me every single day. I look for inspiration. The reason that I'm here is because I'm inspired by what's going on here. This and what's happening here is beautiful. What's happening here, the transformation that's happening here, having things like Miss, this is what truly matters. It's the impact and the change. I could literally get emotional up here, just thinking about seeing this, being able to walk around and seeing a new Riyadh. Like seeing this is incredible. And you all are all part of that change. And I'm so excited to be here, genuinely. I want to say one last thing that I'm really, actually two last things. Number one, we talked about, surrounding yourself with the right people, being focused, being good at what you do, taking risks, having resilience. But I want to make a point of authenticity. And I was just having this conversation in the back about authenticity. Be who you are. Stay true to who you are. It's hard enough being successful, but if you're pretending to be somebody else, it makes it that much harder because you're expending energy trying to be someone that you're not. So the last thing I want to leave you with is be yourself. And the last thing I want to say is that I am working on bringing Kickstarter to Saudi next year. So be on the lookout. Be on the lookout because we want to support the creators and entrepreneurs here. So thank you very much. This was a dream come true. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Now, there's probably not many speakers that I would feel a little intimidated to come after me, but I feel like you guys are in for a treat because I just met this gentleman backstage and he is absolutely incredible, fascinating, inspiring, and I'm excited to bring him to the stage. Up next is an unfiltered session in the wellness and sports pillar. No excuses, no limits. Nick Santanastasso's story is the definition of pushing past barriers. Born with hand-heart syndrome, with no legs and only one arm, and given less than a 30% chance to survive, Nick, my guy, has inspired millions as a bodybuilder. I gotta get in the gym, man. I'm gonna get in the gym. Entrepreneur and resilience coach. He's faced more challenges than most of us can imagine. But rather than accept those limits, he's shown the world what's possible when you trade excuses for action and embrace every opportunity with an unstoppable mindset. Before he comes to stage, let's just take a look at this video. Thank you.
The doctors classified me with hand-heart syndrome. Are you ready to challenge the impossible?
His name is Nick Santanastassow. Nick Santanastassow.
Welcome back to Max Out with Ed Milet. This man to my left, I think, is one of the most inspiring people on planet Earth today.
Welcome to Beijing.
At the time of my birth, I was the 12th baby in medical history that they've ever seen this happen to. And out of the 12, 8 of them have passed away due to undeveloped organs.
Like any other 12-year-old, Nick Santanastassow enjoys football, skateboarding, and playing video games. And while these may sound like simple everyday activities, for Nick, they are anything but. He is one boy who defies the odds.
It's not about how many times we fall down. It's about how many times we get up and keep moving forward.
And an unbelievable public speaker, for the record, that you're going to hear about in a minute. But this is Nick Santanastassow.
Have you ever felt like you were invisible? Have you ever felt like you weren't good enough? Raise your hand if at least one time in your life you said, why me? Look around the room. It's everyone. We all get a taste of that victim mentality, but why me? Why do I have to be born like this? Why do I have to be born with no legs and one arm? Why do the kids have to make fun of me? Why do I have to go through these challenges? What I've realized over the 23 years of my life, it's not the physical body that holds us back, but it's the mindset. The biggest disability you can have is a bad mindset.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor to be with you today. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to share some of my greatest insights that I've acquired, not only being born with no legs and an arm, but I've been able, over the past 8 years, to train over 1 million people live from stage in human and business psychology, and I think we're in for a treat. There's something called the law of exposure, and what the law of exposure states is the moment you see it, you cannot unsee it. And I believe what I can share today is not only going to impact the adults, but the youth, because rooms like this is where we change the world. Now, before I go into the insights, let me share a little bit of why I look like this. In 1996, my parents went in for late ultrasound. They sat them down, they pulled the baby up on the screen, and suddenly everybody started to freak out. They were like, "What's wrong? What's going on with my baby?" They said, "From the looks of it, it doesn't look like your baby's limbs are being developed. In specific, it looks like he's missing his legs, it looks like he's missing his arms, and his face might be messed up." In that moment, they classify me with what we call hand-heart syndrome. Hand-heart syndrome is a super rare genetic disorder that either leaves the babies with undeveloped limbs or undeveloped organs. At the time of my birth in 1996, I was the 12th baby in medical history that they've ever seen this happen to. And out of the 12, 8 of those babies passed away due to undeveloped organs. The doctor said, "Your baby boy has about a 30% chance to live." In that moment, my parents made a decision. You see, oftentimes we think changing our life is this big, drastic, overwhelming thing, when in reality, your life changes in a moment of decision. Your life changes when you decide to start the company, you decide to get in the room. Your life changes when you decide to solve a problem. And in that moment, the decision that my parents made was that they were going to focus on the 30% chance of me living versus the 70% chance of me dying. My parents went forth with the pregnancy, and when I was born, the doctors took me and they rushed me into a room and they did tests on my organs to see if I was going to survive. They came back, my parents said, "What's the verdict?" They said, "It's a miracle. Your son has no legs of an arm, but his organs are 100% healthy." In that moment, my parents said, "We're going to see what this kid is truly capable of." The outside world, the doctors told my parents I'd never dress myself, I'd never feed myself, I'd never be independent. And so the environment that my parents created for me cultivated me into the leader that I am today. I'll give you an example. From an early age, my parents sat me down and they would put me in a chair with my food in front of me. And they would say, "Figure it out." And I would sit there and I'd try to pick the spoon up and I dropped the spoon, and I tried to pick the food up and I dropped the food, and then eventually I learned how to feed myself. And then my next challenge came. They would sit me down and they put my clothes in front of me and they'd say, "Figure it out." And I tried to put the shirt on and I couldn't put the shirt on, and clearly I figured out how to dress myself. I look pretty good today. But it was during those moments where my parents pushed me to do the things on myself that cultivated this psychology. Now, for the adults and the youth that are watching, there's 2 extremely valuable things that environment did for me. The first thing that environment did to me was it introduced me to failure at a very early age. Most people's relationship with failure is negative, but I became best friends with failure. I learned that the faster that I fail, the faster they get feedback. The faster that I get feedback, the faster that I can succeed. And so my relationship became amazing with failure. So for those that want to remember this, if failure is a friend, you'll learn to the end. If failure is a foe, you will never grow. Oftentimes, people don't take action because they don't want to fail. Now, the second thing that environment cultivated my brain into was I was forced to become solution-oriented. I had no time to waste on focusing on the problems. The problems were all around me. But my brain was forced to become solution-oriented. But what we've realized studying human behavior is that most people focus on the problems so they get more of the things that they don't want. And so those 2 valuable things changed my life forever, is having a great relationship with failure and becoming solution-oriented. But it's one thing for me to say it and for you to believe it, but it's another thing for you to see what that environment and what that psychology does real time. I want to show you, if we could play the video. This is what happens with the right mindset.
I put my parents in the video at the end because when I was born, my dad took me into a private room and he looked me in my eyes as a baby and said, Nick, I will be your arms and legs until the day that you die, until the day that he dies. And I put them in that video because just this last year I called my parents and let them know that I retired them and I will be their arms and their legs until the day that they die. What a gift. Now, what I've realized with all the data we've accumulated training people all over the world is that there's 3 focus patterns or behavior patterns that get in people's way. And if we can make the adults and the youth aware of this, it could change the quality of your life. Very quickly, I'll go through this. The first focus pattern is the question. Because what I've realized about the greatest communicators and the greatest leaders is that they don't give their people answers, they ask the right questions to lead their people to their own answers. And so the first question that I can spark to the audience is, in my life, the majority of the times, do I tend to find myself focusing on the things that I have or the things that I don't have? And when we get the data back, we realize that most humans, regardless of all their legs and all their arms and all of their success, that a lot of times they're focusing on all the things that they don't have in their life. Now let's take the man with no legs and one arm, for example. If the man with no legs and one arm woke up every single day, didn't do the mental work, and he focused on all the things that he doesn't have, is Nick's life good or bad? It's not so good. Because we don't get the life we have, we get the life we focus on. I want you to understand this. What's wrong or what you don't have in your life is always available for you to focus on. But what you do have is always available as well. Then we move into the second focus pattern. In my life, do I tend to find myself focusing on the things that I can control or the things that I can't control? Now, we're raising the next generation of leaders. And as leaders, our job is to bring certainty in the uncertain times. And so if you want to be an incredible leader, you must control your controllables. So here are a few controllables that if you just focus on these things, it'll change your life. The first thing that you can control is your focus. You can control your focus. If I could snap my fingers, I'd snap them. You can change your focus that fast. So if we're in a negative state or a not so good place, we've created it based on our focus. The second thing that you can control, which you are also exercising in this moment, is the content that you consume on a day-to-day basis. You are what you consume. If your social media feeds are full of negativity, you become a negative person. If your social media feeds are full of incredible things, you become an incredible person. And the third and final thing, which all of you know this, but what I've realized is most of us don't need to be taught, we need to be reminded, is the people that you surround yourself with on a day-to-day basis. There's no way that I could be this successful at 29 years old. I have people all over the room that are my arms and my legs, and it takes a village. And so my gentle nudge to the adults, but to the youth as well, is to make sure you pick your peer group and make sure that they're good ones. Now, before I go, I'll give you one last insight, which changed the quality of my life forever. When I was 14 years old, I was on a school bus, and there was a girl to the left of me, and she was making fun of everybody on the school bus. And I was like, oh man, she's going to have a fun day with me. And I looked to the left, and this girl looks me in my eyes, and she goes, Nick, I don't even have to make fun of you. You're already too messed up anyway. As a 14-year-old kid, I don't know how to deal with that. I don't know how to process that. And I started to believe that. For years after that experience, I started to believe that I was unattractive, that I was disgusting, that having no legs and an arm was the worst thing that my Creator could do to me. Until I was 19 years old. Instead of asking myself what was wrong with me, I asked a better question. And the question that I asked was, what was right with me? And when I asked a better question, I got a better answer, and this was the answer that I got. Nick, if having no legs of an arm, if someone doesn't want to do business with you because you have no legs of an arm, if someone doesn't want to be intimate with you because you have no legs of an arm, if someone doesn't want to be your friend because you have no legs of an arm, then wait. Maybe this disability or this curse that you call it is actually your greatest gift. What if having no legs of an arm acted as an authentic human filter and it immediately filtered out the type of men and women that you don't want in your life anyway? The reason that's so valuable is because when you change the story, you change your life. For the longest time, I'm 29 years old, for the majority of my life, I thought this body was the most disgusting thing that can happen to me. But luckily, I changed my story. I realized I'm a unicorn. I'm a unique vessel. And so for the youth that is listening, authenticity is your highest vibration. Especially moving into a world that is going to be taken over by AI, humans are going to want to be with humans. And so the highest vibration that you can operate off of is authenticity. Everybody else is taken, so you might as well be yourself. Now, last but not least, I fly a lot. This is my first time in Saudi, by the way, so thank you for having me. It's been a warm welcome. Thank you so much. And in America, I was on a flight where it was first come, first serve, and I rolled through the airport in a wheelchair, so I get to skip the line, right? Focus on my strengths. And they roll me into the plane, and they put me in the first row, and I sat towards the window so 2 other people could have the best seats in the plane. And I remember the flight attendant saying, "Honey, this is going to be a full flight." I said, "No worries, I already got my seat." And the plane started filling in. The plane started filling in, and people are looking at me and then looking away, or, "Hey, look at that guy." And the plane started filling in, and no one wanted to sit next to me. And I'm trying to be strong, but I'm looking at the window when I'm getting a bit emotional. And finally, 2 gentlemen had to sit down, and they took the seats, and I'm looking at the window, and I'm crying. And I said, "Nick, what would you tell the kids you teach? What would you tell the leaders you teach? Practice what you preach. What would you tell them?" And I said, "I got to change the story. I got to find the gift." And in that moment, my brain said this. My brain said, "Nick, you can either cry all the way home. You can let this affect your day, your week, your month. Or Nick could celebrate the fact that he has the most legroom in this plane." And in a snap of a finger, it took a situation that was a loss and I turned it to a win by the meaning I attached to the experience. And so before I go, I want you to remember this. The meaning you attach to the experience becomes the experience. Be very conscious of the meaning that you're attaching to all things around you. Now, before I go, rooms like this are where we change the world. So if you're open to it, I'd love for you to take out your phones. Not to take a picture of me, but if you pull out your phones, we're going to put up very quickly just a QR code. If there's any way that I can serve you, if there's any way that I can contribute, if there's any way we can change more lives together, please reach out to me, because I'm only one man, a short man. But if we do it together, I believe that we can change the world together. And my mission in life, and I believe we have the same mission, is that if we can build ourselves into the greatest men and the greatest women, we can turn it around and gift ourselves to the world. Be an offering, be a blessing, because I truly believe when you bless enough people, you will be blessed. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Nick.